What if the safest place you knew suddenly became the one place you could never sleep in again? According to a disturbing account surrounding Adelaide Cottage, Prince William and Catherine reportedly faced exactly that nightmare after an inspection uncovered something unexpected beneath their Windsor home. Hidden passages were allegedly discovered below the property, but the tunnels themselves were not what frightened the family most. Investigators reportedly found signs suggesting someone had been using them recently, turning an ordinary structural inspection into a terrifying security mystery. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more fascinating royal family stories. Because what was allegedly discovered beneath the rooms where George, Charlotte, and Louis slept would force William and Catherine to confront every parent's worst fear. Someone may have been watching. It reportedly began with routine inspection work at Adelaide Cottage. The Windsor residence William and Catherine chose as a comparatively private family home. Engineers were examining the structure when they allegedly encountered underground spaces that did not appear on the modern plans they were using. The passages were believed to be considerably older than the cottage itself, potentially connected to centuries of development around the Windsor estate. An undiscovered historical tunnel would already have created serious questions, but the account claims investigators soon noticed details that appeared anything but historical. There were allegedly recent footprints, modern water bottles, tools, a folding chair, and other signs suggesting someone had entered the area not decades earlier, but relatively recently. Suddenly, the question was no longer simply, how old are these tunnels? It became something far more unsettling. Who has been using them? Then came the discovery that reportedly changed the entire situation. Among the items underground were said to be photographs of William, Catherine, and their children going through ordinary routines around the estate. According to the story, some images appeared to have been taken from positions suggesting careful observation rather than accidental encounters. If true, that meant whoever entered those passages may not simply have been exploring forgotten architecture. Someone could have been studying the family's movements. Security officers reportedly treated the discovery seriously enough that William and Catherine were awakened during the night and informed that their home could no longer be assumed secure. Catherine's attention immediately turned toward George, Charlotte, and Louis. The children were reportedly awakened, dressed quickly, and prepared to leave. A home chosen partly to give them greater privacy had suddenly become the center of an alarming security question. The reported evacuation was especially emotional because Adelaide Cottage represented much more than another royal residence. William and Catherine had moved their family there in 2022, choosing a comparatively modest property near Windsor while their children attended school nearby. In this dramatic account, Catherine reportedly tried to keep George, Charlotte, and Louis calm while security officers prepared their departure. William helped move the children as vehicles waited outside. Imagine the contradiction, surrounded by professional protection, yet leaving your own home because nobody could immediately explain what might exist beneath it. The story says the family was moved to a secure location while specialists began examining the underground network. By morning, what had started as a structural investigation had allegedly developed into something involving archaeology, security, and potential criminal activity. And investigators were only beginning to understand how extensive those forgotten passages might actually be. As specialists reportedly mapped the underground network, the scale of the discovery became even more troubling. The passages were said to extend beyond Adelaide Cottage and connect with other areas around the Windsor estate. That possibility raised an obvious security concern. Modern cameras, gates, and checkpoints are designed primarily to monitor movement above ground. A forgotten route beneath those defenses could represent an entirely different vulnerability. But investigators were allegedly even more concerned by what appeared inside one underground chamber. The story describes a makeshift camp containing a chair, blanket, water supplies, and additional photographs of the Wales family. Some images reportedly focused on routines such as movements around the estate and periods when security activity changed. If accurate, this no longer looked like simple historical exploration. It looked like someone had been studying patterns. For William, the reported discovery carried an especially painful meaning. He has spent virtually his entire life surrounded by cameras, public attention, an intense interest in his family. Losing Princess Diana when he was only 15 also shaped his understanding of privacy in ways few people could fully appreciate. Now, according to this account, he faced the possibility that someone had secretly photographed his own family from an unseen location near their home. Investigators reportedly began examining footage, photographic data, maps, and other material for anything that could identify whoever had entered the tunnels. Meanwhile, William and Catherine remained focused on their children. George was old enough to realize that a midnight evacuation meant something serious had happened. Catherine and William therefore faced another difficult challenge, explaining enough to reassure him without giving an 11-year-old fears he might carry into every unfamiliar room. The investigation reportedly took another disturbing turn when search teams discovered material suggesting the underground activity may have continued far longer than first believed. Older supplies and camps were allegedly located deeper inside the passage system, while notebooks and historical maps were recovered from protected containers. According to the account, some evidence appeared consistent with activity stretching back close to 2 years. That possibility completely changed the emotional weight of the discovery. 2 winters, 2 summers, birthdays, school mornings, family evenings, all while William and Catherine believed Adelaide Cottage provided their children with greater privacy. Specialists examining the documents reportedly found extensive research into Windsor's architectural history and theories involving valuables supposedly hidden during earlier periods of British history. The emerging possibility was strange but alarming. Perhaps the person underground had originally been searching for something historical, only for that interest to gradually become an obsession involving the family living above. According to the story, investigators eventually began focusing on a man whose background appeared to fit the unusual evidence. Online activity connected to theories about hidden royal treasure reportedly contained maps and ideas resembling material recovered from beneath Windsor. The account describes the suspect as someone with historical research experience and enough knowledge to interpret old architectural plans. That combination could potentially explain how forgotten passages were discovered when modern security systems had overlooked them. More disturbing were the journals allegedly recovered underground. They reportedly began as observations about architecture and routines, but gradually became increasingly personal, including references to members of the Wales family, despite no genuine relationship with them. Investigators therefore faced something more complicated than an alleged trespasser searching for treasure. The story suggests historical obsession had become entangled with one-sided familiarity toward people who never knew they were being watched. And at that stage, the suspected individual had reportedly disappeared. For Catherine, however, identifying a possible suspect could not immediately restore what had been lost. The account portrays her greatest concern as the psychological effect on George, Charlotte, and Louis. Each child reportedly processed the disruption differently. George became more interested in understanding security and whether the danger had passed. Charlotte supposedly became increasingly conscious of doors and windows, while young Louis struggled to understand why the family could not simply return home. These intimate reactions are not independently established in the supplied material, but they illustrate the story's central emotional point. Security is not only about locks, cameras, and officers. It is also about feeling safe enough to stop thinking about danger. Adelaide Cottage could be reinforced, monitored, searched, and secured. Yet William and Catherine allegedly confronted a harder question. Could their children ever again sleep comfortably there after learning that someone might have secretly occupied spaces beneath the property? Security work at Adelaide Cottage reportedly began quickly. Entrances associated with the underground network were examined, monitoring was strengthened, and additional protective measures were considered around the property. But every improvement created an uncomfortable contradiction. William and Catherine had chosen the cottage partly because it offered something closer to an ordinary family environment than a grand palace. Turning it into a heavily monitored security installation could protect the children while simultaneously destroying the quality that had made the home attractive in the first place. According to the account, conversations gradually shifted from when the family might return to whether returning still made sense. The issue was no longer simply structural. Their perception of the house itself had changed. The rooms remained familiar, the garden remained unchanged, and their memories still belonged there. Yet once a sanctuary becomes associated with unseen surveillance, repairing walls and installing sensors cannot necessarily restore the feeling that existed before. Eventually, the family reportedly relocated while extensive work continued, with the move publicly framed around infrastructure and security requirements. Behind that practical language, the story presents a much more personal reality. William and Catherine had attempted to create a home where royal duty and ordinary family life could coexist, only to discover how fragile that balance could be. Catherine allegedly walked through the cottage before leaving, passing familiar rooms filled with memories of birthdays, dinners, film nights, and everyday parenting. William reportedly approached the departure more practically, reviewing security changes while understanding that the property might never feel quite the same. The story also draws an emotional connection to Diana. William grew up watching his mother struggle to give her sons ordinary experiences despite extraordinary public attention. Years later, he had tried to offer his own children greater privacy, and now an alleged intrusion had challenged precisely what he had hoped to protect. In the end, the most unsettling part of this story is not the possibility of forgotten tunnels beneath Windsor or even rumors of treasure hidden centuries ago. It is the idea that a family's sense of safety can disappear without anything visible changing above ground. According to the account, the suspected intruder found no legendary fortune beneath the estate. What was allegedly taken instead was something far more personal: the confidence that William, Catherine, George, Charlotte, and Louis could close their front door and feel protected inside their own home. Security systems can be upgraded, passages can be sealed, buildings can be repaired. Trust is much harder to rebuild. Do you think William and Catherine should ever return to Adelaide Cottage after an experience like this, or should they permanently choose another home? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe for more royal family stories, history, and updates.